everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. I wanted to share with you today a little update to my fountain pen swatching routine, I guess you could call it. I have been watching a few different YouTube videos. Whoops, time to fix the elastic on that. Knew that was coming. Anyway, let's see, Karina Loves to Plan, Marcy Me, Holy Fire Scribble. They've been kind of motivating me to, just by watching them, to revamp my swatching technique. So let me just show you what I'm doing. First of all, I have this currently inked book that I bought off of Van Ness Pens. And it's pretty handy, but my problem is I switch out my inks so often. I'm constantly scratching out and putting in new ones. Not a bad thing, but it's okay. This part isn't bad. I don't know that I will rebuy this though when I'm done, because I like better what I've started doing. And that is that I have two different kinds of inserts. I have a Cosmo Air Light, and I have the new Tomoe River paper, the successor, the Sans Zen one. And so when I ink up a pen, I just do this technique where, Simone, also her videos, that has also inspired me to kind of redo what I have been doing. And what she did was kind of do a little swatch, something similar to this. Write down the name of the ink and the pen you're using it in. And then to this side, write a comment on how you like how that feels, how that ink in that pen works for you. And so that's what I have been doing. Now I find that this short swatching technique gives you good first impressions, but for me, it helps to write for a longer time. So taking notes or writing in a journal or something, or doing some transcribing and getting a bigger picture of how the pen and ink work together is more of a long-term evaluation for me. But this is a great way to do first impressions, or even maybe this would work for you if you've written in it for a while and then you decide to go back and do your thoughts. So this one is the Tomoe River. I put new, I think, because I can't remember when I ordered it, if I got one of the remaining original Tomoe River papers or if it's the new one, but it's a Tomoe River of some sort. And then here I have my Cosmo Air Light, and I've been doing the same thing. Now Simone, she just writes kind of a quick grading system, like, don't like, check, whatever. I don't remember exactly what she does. I tend to be wordy because I like to write with my fountain pens and it feels so neat on the paper. So I write a little bit more to try to remind myself what I felt about that ink and pen combination. So I have been enjoying this a lot, and I had a couple new inks, so it's been nice to see some of the very similar ones close together, or like the same ink as I have here in 3 different pens, to see which combination was most pleasing to me. And then this I'm super excited about. This is, let me double check because I have a few new, yeah, this is another Cosmo Air, but I decided to go ahead and do swatching by color families. So here I put the blacks and the gray together. I have just penciled in the writing that I want to add. I think I'll go back and just do that with like a black Sharpie or something, because like when you do a dip pen, it's a different experience than when you're writing with your fountain pen. But I didn't want to ink up all these, and I didn't want to keep rinsing a nib. So I just penciled it in, and I'll go back later. So I have my Noodler's Heart of Darkness, my Pilot Takesumi, and then Grise Orage or Stormy Gray. I don't necessarily need to go through all these, but just to give you an idea, I just have a few actual more true blues. Super interesting to see these side by side. Just a little side note. The 54th Massachusetts, my first impression of that ink, I don't know what paper I had, but it was like a gray. And then the more I've used it, I guess it's on different papers, it's much more blue, and it even has this red sheen to it. Anyway, and then I have purples. By the way, if I didn't say, this right here is all my bottled inks. So inks that I have in a full size bottle versus a sample vial. And then these are purples. Now I will comment here that this Aurora purple, to me, I would group that more in a pink category, but I know people have different ways of looking at purples. But it's called Aurora, it's called purple. That's what Aurora has named that ink. So I put it in the purples. And also kind of, I forgot how much the Noodler's 1984 was more of a purple ink. The reason I was drawn to this technique, and I think most of this I was inspired by Karina Loves to Plan, because I was watching her one day as I was working on some things in my kitchen, and I just like the idea of having color families swatched together, because that will hopefully help me avoid buying inks that are too similar. So this is going to be a handy tool, I think. And then teals, that's a funny thing too, because I first bought this Iroshizuku Kujaku, which I love. I love this ink. Jen from Jen's Tans recommended that to me, and I've liked that ink. And then the tourmaline I bought shortly after, and that was like a not thinking moment for me, because even though this is more blue, I just feel like they're too similar. And when I want to write with an ink that's in this family, it's like, which one do I pick? It's just a little more green here, but there's not enough variation for me to really distinguish and want to go with one ink over the other. And then I got a sample vial of Kum Idwal from my friend Kim, and this is by Pure Pens, and I love that ink so much I bought a vial I mean a bottle, excuse me. Let me get a drink of my coffee. Every single time I do a video, my throat starts to bother me. I don't know what my problem is. But this is definitely, I would call it teal, a murky teal. Murky teal. It sounds like mercantile. Anyway, it flows amazingly well out of my pens. And even though it's a deeper version of this, I'm super glad that I bought it. If I had just bought these two, I'd be happy. I don't generally go for that one. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not ever a first thought. But see, you can see how this helps. Okay, 3 very similar inks. I probably don't need to get any more teal inks. And then greens. I mean, I'm trying to show you my new setup, and I think maybe I'm getting a little sidetracked, but let's just go ahead. So under the category green, we all know there's so many different shades, tones, and what have you. But again, this will help me quite a bit so I don't repeat. And I was super interested to note the shimmer, or I guess you call it the shimmer quality, as some of these little dots that I added are outlined in a metallic kind of rosy gold color. I didn't even know that aspect was in Jade Noir. And my newest ink, given to me by my son's girlfriend, Kiara, is the Vert Atlantide. It's a hard one to say. Atlantis Green. And I'm really enjoying that ink. It has got a beautiful shimmer, and it has silver and gold. So all within the greens, quite a bit of difference. So depending on the holiday or what kind of green I want, I can go to one of my bottles. And if I'm tempted to buy a new ink, I can think, do I have anything like it already? Oranges, I grouped my copper type shades under the category of orange, because I kind of feel like that works together. This is Monteverde's Pumpkin Cake, and this is Diamine's Ancient Copper. Now, again, not a well thought through purchase. I had this one first. I love this ink. It has a nice sheening quality, but I wanted something, earlier this fall, I was thinking, oh, it'd be fun to have a specific ink to do a lot of fall journaling with. And I bought the Monteverde pumpkin cake afterwards, realizing, oh my goodness, that is so much like ancient copper. I will not be buying any ink like this for a long time till those bottles are gone, because there's no point. I love ancient copper. There is an aspect of Monteverde that I love. Can't think of the name offhand, but it's a lubricant that's added to their inks to help them flow better. So now, if I had known that, I might opt for that one because of that added feature. But they're both wonderful and beautiful. Browns, love the sepia here. I don't always have great luck with it. In my pens, it tends to run dry, I feel like, but it is pretty pretty. My reds, Writer's Blood is really similar to Takia's Ebby, which I loved. I sampled some of my friend Donna's ink when I was with her a few weeks ago, and I thought, that's a lot like Writer's Blood, and I did compare it elsewhere. Very similar. So I don't need to buy that one, but it was really, really smooth. Very nice to write with. And that's all the categories I have, because those are the only bottles, but there's plenty of room to add more. And then halfway through the book, I added sections for my samples. I didn't follow the same order of colors. I just kind of did what I felt like doing. So all my green samples, you can see there's a pattern here, kind of murky greens, mossy greens, maybe you would call it. That's really funny because these are so similar, and I think I'm just looking for a green that is something like these more muted, dirty tones. To me, they look like a color that has an aspect of black added, so it's deepened. It's not bright and poppy. So experimenting with that. I just got the Noodler's Army Green, and I have not tried to write with it yet, other than doing the swatch. But I just love all these colors together, and I like how Karina sort of added, like she would do her square and then do little taps with the Q-tip to add a little bit more dimension. I think she might have used a paintbrush as well. I just used Q-tips, but that just kind of helps me get a flavor and a feel for the ink. Then I did all my purple samples. Now I have had much more. I've given a lot of my samples to my daughter-in-law and her 3 kids who are learning about fountain pen inks. So some of them that I had sampled and used, I gave the rest to her, but these are ones I currently have. Again, this desire to find purple that fits my preferences. I love the Caran d'Ache Storm, but it's discontinued. And then I did buy Poussière de Lune by Urban, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Very pretty to see those together. And then I did a teal section, realized I didn't have any teal samples other than, if you would call Ferris wheel, press, bluegrass, velvet, a teal. When I hear bluegrass, velvet, I don't know enough maybe about the cultural aspects with that phrasing or that naming of that ink, that it might be referring to something that I'm not familiar with. To me, this is more teal, and I may go back and add it there because it could be considered either color, but I went with blue because it says bluegrass. Here's the Vinta Maharlika, Waterman Serenity Blue, and Sailor Manyo Kanagi from Donna, which is really pretty. All 3 of these have a gorgeous, I would call it maybe a red gold sheen. Really, really nice. Browns, I love the browns. And one gold, Diamond Golden Sands. So that's what I have going currently. Just in way of contrast, let me show you what I had going before. I have this notebook and I have this one here that is full. And I started out with a system, put all my pen purchases, all my samples. I guess these might be the bottles I actually have. Then I would just write and see how I liked it. These are samples that I either bought or were given to me, swatched them out, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's kind of fun to page through. And this is the original Tomoe, so it's really soft and lightweight. It's a nice experience. But it ended up not being hugely helpful other than it's just fun to see, but no rhyme or reason. Talked about pens I owned. So, you know, I could maybe write down my impressions and aspects of the pens that are good to know, because there's, you know, so many options, piston fillers, the vacuum type fillers. I tried to write down characteristics of the various pens so I could be even more familiar with what I own. Sometimes I'll just buy it because I like it or I want to try that kind of pen or that kind of nib, and I didn't really have a good system, so this just all got crowded out. And then running alongside with that, I had this other one, again, swatching. I have my pen flush recipes in there, random swatching. Here you can see the similarity between a couple inks. This is kind of a good place to go just when I need to swatch something. But it had started out being my ink bottle stamps, and then I would write what size bottle I got, what the ink was, where I bought it from, in some cases how much it cost to buy that. So I'm still using this, but it is done in order of my ink acquisition rather than by color. So it's maybe not as helpful as a tool to not repurchase similar inks. But it's fun, but maybe not quite as helpful as the new system I've adopted. But I will keep up with this because I kind of like that. But it could have served me much more well than if I would have let it. Again, with these two inks being so similar, don't know what I was thinking. I really don't. So that's that. So this one stays. This one is staying in here because even though the back part of it is a little bit of a hodgepodge, this front section still, right from here on, is still my ink bottle swatching. So this one is going into storage. I may throw it away after a while, but not quite ready to do that yet. Because I might, it's just kind of fun to look back on my early ink journey. I'm still early in the ink journey, but not as much as I once was. So I'm gaining some knowledge, some experience. This is a Waypoint leather, by the way, and it has really stretched out there. So that's why that popped out. I did re-knot it, but it's just not holding. So we'll have to come up with something different. Anyway, that's my new swatching system, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon. Take care.